There's a person you can see on the screen. Can you guess who he is? Well, he's Mr. Monish Pabrai, an Indian American businessman and one of the most successful value investor with current net worth close to around $2 billion. He's also an author of very interesting book on investment, The Dhandho Investor. He's a huge follower of Mr. Warren Buffett and has admitted that he has replicated Warren Buffett investment strategies. He says that I'm a shameless copycat. Of course, it won't be that easy. He might get the ideas from Warren Buffett investment strategies, but I'm sure he understands the business in detail before taking a bet. But the point here is, if you follow right set of people, you can get many multi-bagger ideas. And that's where I want to discuss top fund houses and investors I follow in my own investment journey to get ideas for investment. Then of course, I deep dive into the business to identify the potential. So what I've done is I've created three categories of investors. First is FII, that is foreign institutional investor. Second is DII, that is domestic institutional investor. And third is HNI, that is high net worth individuals. I keep a close eye on few selected FIs, DIs and HNIs to identify which stocks they have added in their portfolio, where they are increasing their allocation and where they are reducing allocation. Here please note that I only focus on institutions or individuals that have a long-term investment mindset. I filter out those who frequently buy and sell stocks just to take benefit in short term. Overall, there are around 15 FIs, DIs, HNIs in total that I track closely. Please note that there are many other institutions and individuals, but I have narrowed down to 15 names after a good few years of close tracking. It includes 5 FIs, 6 DIs and 4 HNIs. In this video, I'll share how you can also track their investment and how you can identify multi-bagger ideas. But please note that identification of a multi-bagger idea is only the first step. You need to deep dive into the business to understand the potential and build confidence before investing your money. Plus, you don't need to buy every company FI, DI or HNI are buying. There's no guarantee that they are always right. Having said this, it's a great way to identify fundamentally strong companies across categories. Now, discussing all 15 names and their stock holding would make the video very long. So what I've done is I've divided this video in 3 parts. This is the first part where we will discuss 5 FIs that I closely follow and look at their portfolios. In the second part, we'll discuss top DIs, and then in the third part, we'll discuss the top HNIs. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so the first FI that I track very closely is MIT. Now, MIT needs no introduction. It's world #1 university, especially for technical courses. They also have an arm that invests across the world, including Indian market, where they have got around 7,000 crores plus of investment in listed Indian companies with more than 1% holding. Please note that if a company or an HNI has got more than 1% holding, then only its name is visible. So there might be a case where MIT hold less than 1% stake in company, but that is not visible. But anyways, the company has got more than 7,000 crore of investment in Indian listed company with more than 1% holding. Now the question is, how do you get this list? So basically there are 2 platforms that you can use. One is Screener, where you can get the list, and second is on Trendline. I'll show you both. First, there's a link on this Screener that anyways I'll share in the description section for all the 5 FIs, so you can access it directly, how to get the list of stock holding. Right, so if you click on this, you will get a particular screen like this, and this is where you will get access to all the stock that are part of MIT portfolio. So this is on Screener website. So on top you can see something called bulk deal, then you've got block deals, and then you've got shareholding. So last time company was involved in bulk deal was in 2023, where it sold MacPower CNC. In August 23, it purchased CMS Infosystem, 26 lakh shares at average of 356. Today it is trading at more than 500 rupee. If you recall, I've also done a detailed video on CMS Infosystem. Then it purchased Fusion Microfinance, Newgen Software, but that was long back. Then you can see a few block deal as well. If you scroll down, you will get the entire shareholding pattern. Please note that this data is available only till September 17. So there might be a case where the company is holding the stock even before that. Anyways, so for example, you've got company called Accuracy Shipping, but company invested in March 2020, but then it consistently reduced the stake by September 23, and it seems it has exited this company. Then there's a company called Action Construction Equipment, which is also making a lot of buzz these days. And your MIT increased the stake in the company for a few quarters, and then there's a slight reduction. Please note that there might be a case where the June 2024 shareholding is not visible because a lot of companies have not declared their June holding. So in that case, we'll take the latest holding as March 2024. Then you've got names like Antony Waste, which is also making a lot of buzz, especially in the recycling space. And MIT identified it in December 2020. In fact, it increased the stake in the company. Then there's another name, Barbecue Nation, where company invested in September 2021. So it's been nearly 3 years, and companies holding the stake in Barbecue Nation. Then there's a company called Calcom Vision that your MIT invested in March 2022. So it's been again close to 2.5 years. And if you click on Calcom Vision, you'll know that it's just a 192 crore company. So basically, MIT also invested in microcap companies. Then there are a few more names, but then if you look at it, it has reduced allocation or sold them completely. For an example, there's a name called CMS Infosystem, where MIT entered in September 2023. So it is one of their recent investment, and although there's a slight reduction in stake, but it is still holding a significant part since last 3 quarters. And of course, June we are yet to know what has happened. Then there's a company called Dishman Carbogen that it is holding. In fact, it has increased the stake in the last few quarters. Then you've got Equitas Holding. It was part of its portfolio, but then it got merged with Equitas Small Finance. So basically from here, it is showing that. But again, company has reduced stake there. Then it's got Everest Industry here. It has increased the stake, and now it is 9.88%. Then you've got Fairchem Organics, where companies consistently holding stake since last 2-3 years. Then you've got Global Spirit that it is consistently holding since last few years in spite of sharp correction. Then it has got Gujarat Ambuja that it is holding since last 4 years almost. Then it has got Hitachi. So Hitachi Energy has created humongous wealth for the investor. But if you look at it, your MIT identified this company way back in September 2020, created a lot of wealth, and in last few quarters it has reduced stake and now completely exited. Right? So try to understand what they are doing. They are identifying companies when they are available at very low valuation, and they are exiting when the valuation become overstretched. Then they even have IEX in their portfolio. They increased allocation, then they reduced it. But recently, if you look at it, they've increased allocation in IEX again. Then they've got ITD Cementation. Now recently they've invested in a new company called JG Chemical. That was in March 2024. So you can click on it, and you can you can understand what is this company all about. By the way, it is less than 1,000 crore market cap. So into your chemical segment. Then it has got allocation in Kaveri Seeds since long. KEI Industry, it invested long back, but it exited. Now interestingly, your KPIT Technology MIT identified long back in June 2020, where it invested 2.33% stake, that is increased to 3.11. Just to give you a sense of what we are talking about, KPIT in June 2020 used to trade at the levels of 50 rupee. From there today it is at 1800 plus. So basically your MIT has made more than 30 times return on the company, and that's what is called wealth creation. What a fantastic wealth they've created, and they're still holding KPIT, have not changed any stake since last nearly 4+ years. Then they've got Matrimony.com in their portfolio with very high allocation. Now, very interesting case study is Newgen Software that they identified long back, wherein they identified it in your June 2020, where they invested 1.58% stake. Then they increased their stake to 1.6%. And one of the most interesting aspect is that during this phase, they increased the allocation. Now, this is a very interesting case study. If you look at it, during this phase, between June 22 to September 22, let me just share Newgen share price journey. Between June 22 to September 22, company was trading near its all-time low. And if you recall, I've also done a detailed analysis on Newgen. I've been showing my confidence since a long. But I also discussed it long back, but then even from my levels, it fell down nearly 30-35%. And I remember a lot of people abusing me. They said this is one of the worst stock pick. And this is when MIT increased its stake by 2.5 times. Now tell me, how many of you would have the courage to buy the company at this level? This is where your knowledge and conviction comes into picture. Your companies like MIT have this kind of in-depth knowledge and the confidence, and that's where when the stock was at its bottom, they increased the allocation and still holding your 4.14% stake. And that's what makes the difference. A lot of people have this tendency, when the stock does not perform well, they tend to sell it or they lose patience. But this is the opportunity. If you invest in good companies, it creates opportunity. And look at the kind of wealth MIT has created with Newgen, especially after they increased the allocation by 2.5 times. Right? Then they've got NIIT Learning in their portfolio, and then they've got Orchid Pharma, but then it seems they've reduced or probably exited because March holding is not there. Radico Khaitan, again a huge wealth creator they identified long back, but then they've reduced the stake in the last few quarters. Ramakrishna Forging, again a huge wealth creator they identified long back, but then recently they've reduced this allocation. So if you make an inference out of it, one of the biggest inferences, MIT invested in Indian market long back, and over the last few quarters it is actually reducing stake, and one of the biggest reason in my opinion is the overvaluation of the Indian market, and that's where it looks like they are booking profit, and there's nothing wrong because they invested long back, made a lot of money, and now they're booking slight profit out of it. Then they've got Reddington in their portfolio, although slight reduction. Satin Credit Care, they invested long back, but they've reduced allocation. Then there's a company called SBFC Finance that they identified recently, so probably worth doing analysis. Then Showman Logistic is also their part of portfolio. Star Health is there. Then they've got Vatak Wabak, they identified long back, which is making a lot of buzz these days, but it seems they exited. So they may also make this mistake of exiting early, which is again a part of the journey. Then they've got WPIL, where they're holding 5% stake. So what I've done is I've created an Excel sheet where basically I have identified stocks where MIT has increased the stake or made it constant, or there's a slight reduction. So basically I've removed stock where company has consistently reduced stake over the period of time, and there are quite a few stock. You've got Antony Waste, Barbecue Nation, Calcom Vision, Dishman Carbogen, Everest Industry, Faircam, Globus, IEX, Kaveri Seed, KPIT, Matrimony, Newgen, NIIT, Radico Khaitan, Snowman, Star Health, WPIL. You can also see the market cap. So majority of them are small cap companies. You can also see the stock when they have added in their portfolio and their holding, which is latest. Please note that we are talking about latest holding as of 16 July. Some of the companies have not declared July shareholding. So in that case, we have taken March holding. Now, interesting part here is the new addition in the portfolio in the last few quarters, and one of them is CMS Infosystem that we have already discussed in detail. JG Chemical is again their latest investment, and then there's a company called SBFC Finance that they've added. So this is the analysis of MIT. Again, there are few stocks that probably needs a in-depth analysis. So maybe if you can, if you want me to discuss any company in detail, you can mention it in the comment. Next company in the list is your Goldman Sachs that I track very closely. This is the second FI. So basically, Goldman Sachs has got an India equity portfolio. Again, Goldman Sachs do not require any introduction. One of the world's biggest investment banking firm that manages a total AUM of $2.8 trillion. It's not billion, it's $1 trillion. I mean, Indian GDP is around $4 trillion, right? So that's the kind of scale Goldman operates in. As far as Indian market is concerned, with more than 1% holding, it has got around 8,000 crore worth of investment. Again, like I said, I'll provide the link of the screener in the description section. Apart from this, I also mentioned that you can find the detail on Trendline. So how do you do that? Basically, when you visit Trendline website, trendline.com, on top there's a section called Superstar. When you click on that, you will get the details like individual investor, institutional investor, FI. So today we are talking about FI. You can see the top FIs is Government of Singapore, and then you've got a lot of names in the list. You can also see their portfolio value, the number of stocks, sectoral preference, right? Which sector they're liking. So if you look at it, a lot of them like banking and finance. I mean, I am personally also inclined towards banking and finance, IT, auto, pharma, these kind of companies. And because they've been wealth creator big time in the past and would continue to create wealth. You can also see the top holding in the portfolio. stock they have recently bought, then stock they've recently sold. You can click on it and can get the detail, right? So two ways, one is on screener, second is on your trend line. Now coming back to Goldman portfolio, let's have a look at it. So Goldman portfolio is right here. It has recently invested in Asian Chemical, where it has done bulk deal on 27 June 2024, purchased 6 lakh shares at 658. Then also invested in Car Trade Technology on 24 June 2024, where purchased 6 lakh share at 828. Spandana Spurti, again they purchased on 18 June. Then they sold a few shares as well, and again you can go through the details. Then they've got certain block deals as well, where they purchased a landmark car on 23rd June 23, and so on and so forth. Now if you look at the shareholding pattern of Goldman Sachs, it has got Amber Enterprise, although it was holding it long back, but in between it reduced this allocation to below 1%, but it has again increased the allocation in Amber Enterprise. Then you have got Asian Chemical, where Goldman is consistently increasing stake in last few quarters. Then you have got Bajaj Consumer, that it is holding since many years now. Then you have got Car Trade Technology. Again, this is a very interesting name. I remember covering this company long back during its IPO, and the share tanked badly. But if you look at it, companies like Goldman are actually increasing stake since last 3-4 quarters on a consistent basis. Probably worth having a look. Then CMS Infosystem is also part of Goldman portfolio, where they've consistently increased the stake. So more than one FI, if it is consistently increasing stake, then it also gives a strong signal that the company is worth investing. Obviously, you need to deep dive, understand the business, and then only you need to take a call. Then you've got company called Ethos, where your Goldman has increased the stake in June quarter as well. So identified it 3 quarters ago and increased the stake recently. Then you have got Gokaldas Export, again one of my top pick, discussed it a few times, and stock has already generated a lot of wealth. Company, your Goldman Sachs has consistently increased the stake in Gokaldas, again a very strong signal. Then you have got Inox India, that Goldman has recently identified, and then you have got IG Sec Heavy, where Goldman is looking quite bullish. Then you have got JK Lakshmi Cement as well, where Goldman is increasing stake. Then you have got Jupiter Life Insurance, where Goldman identified it in recently in your March quarter, or probably in December quarter. Yeah. Then you've got KFin Technology, where Goldman has consistently increased the stake. Then Landmark Car is again an interesting name. I've discussed it in detail, where the stock has not done well, and probably that is the reason Goldman liked the valuation and added more of Landmark Car on a consistent basis. Then it has got Mahindra Life. Then MedPlus, it has invested in March quarter. Then it has got Newgen. Again, it has got Newgen in the portfolio. And although the top was 4% from there, in fact 4.5 from there, it has reduced stake, but is still holding Newgen good quantity. That has got Paradeep Phosphate, but currently March holding is not visible. PNC Infra is also part of its list. RateGain Travel again is a very promising name, although it has reduced the stake slightly. Then it has got SJS Enterprise in its portfolio, where it has increased the stake on a consistent basis. Then Spandana Spurti is there, where it has increased the stake on a consistent basis. Sula Vineyard, again we have discussed it in detail, where Goldman has consistently increased stake. Suven Pharma, it has identified recently in March quarter. That is a company called Team Lease is part of portfolio, and Zensa Technology, where your Goldman has consistently increased stake over the period of time. So if you look at the Excel sheet of Goldman Sachs, this is the list of companies that Goldman is holding for a long time and quite bullish. And it includes names like Asian Chemical, Bajaj Consumer, Car Trade, CMS Info, Gokaldas, IGSec, JK Lakshmi, KFin, Landmark, Mahindra Life, Newgen. So basically these names gives you a lot of idea in terms of, deep dive and figure out where are the opportunities. New stocks, Amber I'm considering new because they exited long back and again re-entered and consistently increasing stake. Ethos they identified again in December 2023. Inox India is the latest investment in March 24. Then Jupiter, MedPlus and Suven Pharma. So these are the new stocks where Goldman has recently invested. Probably worth having a look. Then third FI that I closely track is your Capital Group. They have got a fund called Smallcap World Fund that invests in the small cap companies across the world, including India. And again, a huge fund house. they've got an AUM of $2.5 trillion. In India, they have got a holding of more than 40,000 crore in the Indian listed company with more than 1% holding. You can again go through the detail. If you quickly look at the screener for Small Cap World Fund, you can see the details of bulk deal. Latest bulk deal was on 26 June of Newland Lab, where they purchased 1.3 lakh shares at 7,400 rupee. Then they sold NCC, Awas they sold it. Then they purchased few stock, Aditya Vision. So you can go through this detail, and let's go through the shareholding pattern. So one company where small cap fund is quite bullish is 361. And look at this, they identified it in September 19, and since then they've increased their stake big time. I remember covering 361 when I did the video on the wealth management sector of India, and it was part of that list. Then it has got Awas, although Small Cap World Fund has consistently reduced the stake. Although they reduced it to 1.25, but in last 2 quarters they've again increased their stake. Then Aditya Vision, they've invested nearly 8% stake in March 24. Then Aegis Logistic, although they've reduced the stake. Then they've got Anupam Rasayan, where they're holding 2.8% stake since a long time, although slight reduction, but still holding it since a few quarters. Then they've got APL Apollo, although they've slightly reduced the stake. So one trend is there, a lot of companies have reduced their stake, and one of the reason I could understand is obviously the Indian markets are trading at a higher PE multiple, so probably they've booked some profit. Then they've got Aptus Value, they've increased the stake big time. So clearly Small Cap World Fund is showing a lot of confidence in Aptus Value Housing. Again, I remember discussing it long back last year when I discussed the entire housing finance, affordable housing finance sector of India. That has increased stake consistently in Aster DM Health. Then you've got AU Small Finance. Then you have Canara Bank. Interestingly, they invested a few years ago in December 21, and since then Canara Bank has generated a lot of wealth. They're still holding it 1.144% since a few quarters. Apart from this, it has got Chalet Hotel there, where they invested in March quarter. Cholamandalam, they invested long back, but they're slightly reducing the stake. City Union Bank, again a PSU where they invested long back, and in fact increased their stake, and they also had CMS Info, but they probably sold it, so it's not showing in the latest holding. Coforge is part of their portfolio. Then they've got Dilip Buildcon, then Entero Health, where they invested in March quarter. Then 5-Star Business is part of the list. Glenmark Pharma is there. Then you have got SDFC AMC. Next is Home First Finance, where they invested in December quarter. So again, sort of recent purchase. Honasa Consumer is also part of the list. IFL Finance is there, where they're consistently increasing stake in spite of what has happened recently with their gold loan business. Apart from this, they've got few other stocks like Laurus Lab, where they're consistently buying stake against the popular opinion of retail investors, where they basically hate this company because it's been a well destroyed in last 2-3 years. But on the contrary, companies like Small Cap are consistently increasing stake, so that shows the confidence. Then Mastech is there, Max Financial is there, Max Healthcare is there, MRF is there. Then Newland Lab is one of the latest investment in latest June quarter. Then Pratap Snack, they've reduced the stake. Redico Khaitan and Ramakrishna Forging is also two new stocks that they identified few quarters ago. Apart from this, CIS is part of their portfolio. Then Tanla Platform is there holding consistently, although slight reduction in stake, but still a significant allocation. Titagarh Rail is there. Tube Investment is there. So this is the list of Small Cap World Fund. Again, a quick summary if you want. You can see this is the list of companies that they are holding for long, and some of the new stocks that they've added is Aditya Vision, Aster DM, Chalet Hotel, Home First, Honasa, then Inox, NCC, Newland Lab, PB Fintech, Redico Khaitan, RK Forging. Okay, before we proceed with the fourth FII, just wanted to inform you that if you are someone who is a long-term investor and do not get a lot of time for your research, then I have got a weekly series where I spend nearly 8-10 hours a day and keep a close eye on the macro event and share my knowledge with you all. I also share stocks where I am investing my money and themes and stocks where I am bullish on. Again, it is not a buy or sell tip. This is only to give you a direction and share my own conviction with you all. If you are interested, you can visit my website sahilbhadviya.in, or so I'll just show you, this is the website. You can click on the courses and you can get the details. This is the weekly video series. Apart from this, you can also go to my channel and there's a join button, and if you click on that, you can get the same videos on YouTube as well. So only for long-term investor, please, if you are a trader, this is of no use. Now moving on to the fourth name, we have got Nalanda Capital in the list that I track closely. It is basically founded by Mr. Pulak Prasad, who is an IIT Delhi and Ahmedabad alumni and has work experience with McKinsey and Warburg Pincus. Now, he's also an author of very interesting book on investment, What I Learned About Investing from Darwin. So this is one book that if you are enthusiast about investment, you should probably read. Then if you look at the holding of Nalanda Capital, it is holding more than 42,000 crore worth of investment in Indian companies. And if you look at the shareholding pattern, you've got, so this is the stock portfolio of Nalanda. I'll just skip this bulk deal. Although recently it's all sell. So probably they made good money and booking profit because the markets are a bit heated. Now this is the list. They are holding Advanced Enzymes since your September 2020, still holding it. Then they've got Ahluwalia contract since June 2016, right? And they still hold it. Then they've got AIA Engineering, again long back in June 16, still hold nearly 9% stake in the company. Amara Raja, again they invested since September 2017. In fact, they increased the stake and today they've got 8.76% holding. Then next stock is Cera Sanitaryware, where they are holding 9.98% stake, again since many years. Then DB Corp, part of their portfolio since many years, again still hold 9.7%. This Nalanda Capital does not invest 1-2%. They've got nearly 8-9% kind of holding, and not just for a few quarters, since last many years they are holding the stake. A classic example of long-term investing. Then they've got LG Equipment that they invested again in June 2016 and still hold 2.66% stake. Then they've got G Shipping, again making a lot of buzz, that they invested long back in 2016. Today they hold 7.37% stake. Havells India is part of their portfolio that they still hold. Info Edge, again they are holding since a long. By the way, it might happen that they are holding it even before June 16. So we probably don't have enough data for the past. But yeah, they've got Info Edge that they invested long back. Then they've got Jyoti Labs, again long investment. Matrimony is again part of their portfolio. Then MRF is part of their list. NRB Bearing is there where they hold nearly 10% stake. Now, one thing if you observe, they have not invested in new companies in last few quarters. So this gives you a good sense that, even they probably think that the Indian markets are a bit heated and probably they find opportunity outside India, so they've not added much. But yeah, this is one of the takeaway. The biggest takeaway here is that they are holding the allocation in the company not just few quarters, since last many years. Ratnami Metal. So that gives you a good idea that these companies are worth considering for long-term wealth creation. Sundaram Finance is part of their list. Then Thermex is there, again making a lot of buzz. They were holding significant stakes, slightly reduced it, probably booked some profit. Triveni Turbine, they're holding since many years now. TTK Prestige is part of their portfolio since a long time now. V-Guard Industries is part of their portfolio since a long time. And Voltime Transformer, this is again one company that has created humongous wealth, and they are the one, Nalanda Capital, that they identified in June 2016. So I'll just share the journey. I mean, look at this. It did not create any wealth since they invested in June 16, but they held on to their nerve for almost 5-6 years. How many of you would have that kind of courage? And their patience got rewarded, and look at the kind of wealth it has created in last 2-3 years. Right? So it's all about identifying strong companies and keeping your conviction, especially during the difficult times. Right? So if I just quickly summarize the list, for Nalanda, you've got these names for long-term holding, and they've got no company that they've added recently in their portfolio. Final FI that I closely track is your Jupiter Asset Management, where they have a fund called Jupiter India Fund, and this company has got an AUM of $66+ billion, and in Indian market they are holding investment worth more than 4,000 crore. Let's have a look at the details of Jupiter India Fund. So they've got Bajaj Consumer in their portfolio since last few years. Then they have recently invested in Cartwright Technology. Again, this is the second FI that invested in Cartwright, and that is the latest investment in June quarter with 2.43% allocation. Then they've got EIH Hotel. Again, hotel sector has created humongous wealth. They were quite early in identifying this trend, where they invested in March 22 quarter and still holding nearly 10% stake in the company. Then they've got Elpro International. Ethos they identified long back and holding since last many quarters. Then they've got Fortis Healthcare with significant allocation since last many years. Then Godfrey Philip is also part of the list. Then Gravita India they identified a few quarters ago last year and still holding same allocation. Then they've got Himmat Singha CDA, then KDDL, then Milk Food is there. MSTC, again, this is one company we have discussed in detail that they've invested in December quarter. Then Newland Lab is the latest investment in latest June quarter. So probably worth investing. Then there are actually another FIs also that invested in Newland Lab recently. Prism Johnson is part of the portfolio. Royal Orchid Hotel again is part of the list since long time. Then they've got Sula Wine that they identified last year and still holding 1.6. We have discussed Sula Wine in detail. Tasty Bite is part of their portfolio since many years now. Then they've got TTK Healthcare also as part of their portfolio since many years. And Yatharth Hospital is the stock that they added in last March quarter. If I quickly summarize Jupiter India, this is the list that they're holding for a long time. Bajaj Consumer, EIH, Elpro, Ethos, Fortis, Gravita, Himmat Singha, Prism, Royal Orchid, Tasty Bite, TTK Healthcare, and some of the new investments include Cartwright, which was in June 24, MSTC in March 24, Newland Lab in latest again in June 2024, Sula Wine last year in September 23, and Yatharth Hospital in March 2024. So this is the list from my side. These 5 FIs I think are worth tracking for long-term wealth creation. Now just tell me in the comment what do you think about this list, and also tell me which stock from the list you hold in your portfolio. In the next part, we will discuss the top DIS and PMS firm that I track closely. If you find this video useful, do share it within your friends. I'll see you next video. Till then, take care.